There's a really interesting dynamic that happens kind of low key in the background that it's not really discussed amongst a lot of folks that are in the industry in terms of home broadband and mobile providers. And that is this whole like convergence piece, right? Being able to offer multiple services to customers. And you have Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T all playing in that space. They're mobile service providers, so for your wireless, for your smartphone. And then they also do home broadband, and they do it in different ways. In the case of Verizon and AT&T, they have like fiber to the premise or wireline services with like different brands or whatever. You have Verizon with Fios, you have AT&T with fiber, and Uverse, old copper that's getting decommissioned. And they like their position, and they're expanding those things. And Verizon with Frontier, and AT&T with Gigapower and their native AT&T fiber build, right? So they have this convergence, and especially when you throw in like Verizon additionally with fixed wireless access 5G home internet, AT&T does that a little bit too. T-Mobile definitely scales it very large. Anyways, these guys are taking the fight to big cable, and John Stankey was speaking recently about this whole convergence piece and where AT&T stands, and he was speaking to the ability to force cable to have to react. So this would be that whole concept of AT&T versus Comcast, AT&T versus Spectrum, and these cable operators which have massive footprints, and so does AT&T. But now with AT&T also offering fixed wireless access, they can get involved in an additional way. So you got a small targeted fixed wireless access offering. You have the native fiber building and the expansion of those services and things of that nature. John Stankey was speaking to that. He likes where AT&T stands. He believes that big cable has to react to him, and that's the message he wants to send to investors and to the industry. Verizon will tell you the same thing. T-Mobile's going to tell you the same thing. They take cable customers. And when you look at cable's customer count, it's been doing nothing but decreasing. And that is even with them adding mobile services to the repertoire in the last several years. No doubt Comcast has added millions of customers in mobile services. No doubt Spectrum has also added mobile customers, right? And they've done so to the tune of over 10 million between those two companies. So they're definitely players in the space. I don't want to downplay that. But when I look at what John Stankey has to say, he's making sure to drive home the point. AT&T's position is better, and they're able to kind of take the fight to cable as opposed to cable having to try to respond, right? To reduce and stop the bleeding, if you will. All right. Now, penetration within markets is not easy. You have to spend a lot of money to acquire customers. But that convergence piece that AT&T can have, because they offer mobile services as a native network provider, the best phone deals and all that, they're just in a better position to do this. And it's true. They are better capable of growing on both sides of the business. For Comcast and for Spectrum, they're growing in a business where they don't have the best margins. Meanwhile, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile do have better margins because they own their network, their wireless network. And then their home broadband and FWA, they still see growth in those segments as well. Look, I'm not saying that all of a sudden Comcast and Spectrum are going to fall apart, but I know for a fact that Spectrum is taking customers from the mobile providers, right? They're growth takers and share takers, but that doesn't convert to margins. That's a bleeding stopper. When I look at what AT&T can do with fiber customers when their penetration rate has now achieved 40%, and then they also get the mobile customer, their margins are just better. Their growth is organically better. It's the same thing at Verizon. It's the same thing at T-Mobile. Customers just don't like to deal with cable as much as they like to deal with the wireless providers. And he's not saying anything wrong. What he's saying is right. It's an interesting dynamic that when you have big cable growing in mobile services, but they can't grow their core business that actually generates real money. And then you have the home broadband providers that are also wireless providers, right, that build the mobile networks. They're just in a better position. And I had this discussion with someone 5 years ago, maybe almost 6 or 7 years ago. It was like probably pre-2020. The mobile network provider's position is better because they own the assets. There's no version of this where, AT&T needs cable. Cable needs Verizon for a network. See how it's a different dynamic? I think the AT&T CEO is right. I think there is a squeeze, and I think that the customer is willing to play ball with AT&T as long as they offer the best services, which is a combination of wireline and wireless, and they seem to be doing that, right? What's your take? What do you think of AT&T versus big cable and that kind of dynamic in the industry? Let me know. Drop me a comment, like, share, and subscribe. Go ahead and check out some more of our videos. Don't forget to turn on the notifications so you know when we upload videos. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys on the next one.